Have you ever thought about the difference between information and discoveries? As a scientist, it's mostly my job to try and take information and turn it into discoveries. But at a certain point in a science career, it's also part of the job to try and teach the next generation of scientists. And when I started teaching, I thought that meant taking all the little tidbits of information that I had collected and trying to pass those on to new people so they could discover something new. But there was a problem with that. That wasn't bringing people towards discoveries. This thing holds way more facts than this thing, but this doesn't discover anything. So why was I teaching facts? And to be honest, it was probably a bit of a cop-out. It was easier, especially easier for me. Here's a bunch of information. Later there's going to be an exam. The fraction of it that you remembered is the points that you get. That's easy to teach, it's easy to grade, but it's probably not getting closer to making discoveries. Because one of the key things for discovering something isn't collecting a bunch of data. It's knowing how we can handle that data and understanding what might be tricking us. We need filters so that we can say why not to believe something more than we need a whole bunch of facts. So what I'm trying to teach now are some filters to be able to deal with the mass of information that we have access to. And the first filter is to know your method. It's the most fact-y of the filters because it says, how was this information generated and how might that be tricking me? Let's take the first example of a very simple picture of a candle. Have a look at the candle, and now really have a look at the candle. That looks like a fire hazard, right? It is a fireball on a stick, but that's not what you had in mind the first time I put it up. You were probably thinking something more like this. So you automatically filtered that it was showing you something different than what you expected. The difference between reality and the picture was clear to you because you have experience with candles. So there are technical reasons why we can understand that. There are overexposed pixels. But we need to understand how the camera sees the world if we want to figure out how it's tricking us. And that gets a lot harder when the things that we want to look at are things that we can't ever see or touch for ourselves. All of the little bits in the smartphone that make it so good at storing facts are too tiny for me to ever see or touch by myself. There's always going to be a machine between me and it. And so I have to figure out how I can trust that machine and what it's telling me if I want to discover something. Here are pictures, courtesy of my colleagues Colin and Elke, of something the same size that would be in your smartphone. So do you think those are rough troughs or rough plateaus? It turns out that those pictures are from the exact same place on one object. And so the method can't actually answer that question. The camera operated one way or the other way gives us the two different pictures. And it's not a good way to get information about which way is up and which way is down. I will tell you that they are rough troughs, but the only way I can do that is because I know that when we dig them out, it makes them rough. So I need that extra piece of information if I want to try and understand something like this. And that's the first filter. Know the method. The second filter is to understand the context. So I'm sometimes so interested in my question, I don't really pay attention to how larger circumstances might be affecting what's going on and how I should understand what I'm seeing. I'm terrible at social media. So let's consider that picture that I had before of the candle. I'll post that and see how many likes it gets to know if I post interesting content. I understand how likes work, so I understand the method, and it'll be a nice, easy little data set. Except if I post that image on my birthday, there's going to be algorithms sending people to my profile. Somebody will give me some likes. But those likes aren't going to be telling me about interestingness. They're going to be something like, "Hi, friend, it's your birthday. I'm showing up. I'm showing you that I'm showing up. Isn't that nice?" It's not saying that I have great content. If I posted that picture on a random Tuesday, nobody'd see it, nobody would like it. So the context explains that this information is telling me about my timing and not about the quality of my content. So those are the first two filters, method and context. And the last filter is people. You might be thinking, I have to filter out the people who are intentionally trying to trick me. Someone might be generating some propaganda, or maybe you have a biased observer. But that's not what I mean. People are so incredibly powerful in determining what is information, that that's going to affect how we can interpret it. If we imagine that we're aliens and we have a way of picking out pictures from the internet, real photos, not just AI slop or photoshopped things, we can pick up these photos and get an idea of what is Earth-like. And if we did that, we'd end up with a picture of Earth something like this. A lot of humans and a bunch of cats, right? But from down here, we know the Earth is 70% water. And we know that there are 1 billion insects for every one of us. The picture of Earth should look something more like this. It wasn't that those photos were wrong. It's just that things only become information when humans decide that it's interesting to us. So it was an incomplete set, and I have to be aware of that if I'm going to determine how to interpret it. So once I have my filters, and I've gotten rid of those kinds of optical illusions, I know I'm applying my information to the right question, and I've taken into consideration the effect that people might have on what's going on. What do I do with what's left? Especially, what do I do if it's not what I expected to get as an answer? And this is where I have to stand by my data. Now I have to ask, why not believe my data? I've used all of these filters. I've gotten rid of the junk. I've got information that I'm ready to stand by. So why not believe what I see? And one of the things that limits us from turning this into a breakthrough or into a discovery is how we talk about it. We talk about breakthroughs as a great thing, but in the name, we kind of hear break something old and force through something new. And that's a bit of an aggressive concept. Wouldn't it be more powerful if I could make this collaborative instead? Instead of going out and saying, look what I found, you're wrong, if I could bring what I've seen to my peers, my mentors, and say, here's what I see. Here are the filters that I've used to make sure I can really stand by this information. Can you give me a reason why not to believe this data? By making it a collaborative process, we can tap into all of that power that we said humans have to control what is information and make it our collective new idea. I give up a little bit of ego, so it's not my discovery anymore, but it's our discovery that can be a lot more powerful. Filtering out the tricks of the method, focusing our questions according to the context, and getting rid of things that are just based on willpower, that's where we can move to a collaborative discovery and stand by a piece of truth that we can really trust. And that's what I'm trying to teach my students now. So in short, resize your candles, schedule your measurements, let in the fish, and let's discover something together. Thank you.